Welcome to The Explainer, where we dig into some really powerful stories and ideas.
So, can a good king's single mistake actually cost him his life? Well, today we're going to find out. We're diving into the story of a righteous king whose one bad decision almost got him killed. But it also sparked this huge nationwide transformation. It's a really incredible story about friendship, betrayal, and second chances.
All right, so our story starts with something a lot of us can probably relate to, a wrong friendship. This is one of those alliances that, looking back, you just think, oh, this was a bad idea from the very start.
Okay, so picture this. On one side, you've got Jehoshaphat. He's the king of Judah, a good guy, someone who's really trying to follow God. But then, you've got Ahab, king of Israel. And the text is clear. This guy did evil, he was an enemy of God. I mean, they're like complete opposites, right? Total oil and water. And yet, somehow, they become buddies. This is the big question, isn't it? Why would a good person team up with someone so toxic? You know, maybe it was politics, maybe he wanted to feel more secure, who knows? But it just goes to show, even the best of us can have a massive blind spot.
In this friendship, it wasn't just some small political mistake. No, this was a huge spiritual compromise. And unfortunately for Jehoshaphat, it was about to lead him straight into a deadly trap. So, as you can probably guess, this friendship leads to a really disastrous war. Ahab talks Jehoshaphat into joining him in a battle. But here's the thing, Ahab isn't looking for a friend to fight alongside him. He's got a secret, selfish plan to save his own neck.
Here's how twisted Ahab's plan was. A prophet had literally told him, "You're going to die in this battle." Now, a normal person might, rethink their choices, but not Ahab. Instead, he comes up with this scheme to cheat death. He decides he's going to go into battle disguised as just a regular soldier. But that's not even the worst part. He then goes to his so-called friend Jehoshaphat and says, "Hey, why don't you wear the royal robes?" I mean, just think about that. He's basically painting a giant target on his friend's back, making him the decoy. It's an unbelievable betrayal.
And of course, the enemy falls for it. They see the royal robes and immediately surround Jehoshaphat. He's toast. It looks like it's all over. But in that moment of desperation, he cries out to God. And miraculously, God saves him. The enemy army just turns away. But get this, at the very same time, some soldier on the other side of the battlefield just fires an arrow randomly into the air. And that arrow flies across the chaos, finds the one tiny gap in Ahab's armor, and kills him. Just like the prophecy said. Wow. So Jehoshaphat makes it home, he's safe. But his trouble isn't over, not by a long shot, because God has a message for him and a prophet is waiting to deliver it. This is going to be a tough conversation. Yeah, the prophet Jehu doesn't beat around the bush. He comes right out and asks him, should you help the wicked and love those who hate the Lord? Because of this, the wrath of the Lord is on you. Whoa, no sugarcoating it at all. He just lays it out there. You chose to be friends with God's enemy, and now you have to face the consequences. But then, right after this incredibly harsh rebuke, the prophet says something else, something good. Because God didn't just see this one huge mistake, he also remembered something really important that Jehoshaphat had done right. And what was it? Well, the prophet points out that Jehoshaphat had torn down all the Asherah poles in the land. And you got to understand, these weren't just harmless statues. They were these symbols dedicated to a false goddess, and they were centers for all kinds of idol worship and immoral stuff. So getting rid of them, that was a huge deal, a really decisive righteous act. And God hadn't forgotten it. Okay, so this whole thing, the near-death experience, the sharp words from the prophet, it was a massive wake-up call for Jehoshaphat. It sparked some serious reforms. He clearly learned his lesson, and he didn't just sit around feeling bad about it. He took action immediately. And this wasn't some quiet, private, I'm sorry. Nope. He launched a huge nationwide reform. First, he went on a tour of the whole country, from one end to the other, personally trying to turn people back to God. Then he set up judges in every single fortified city. And finally, he gave these new judges a very, very strict set of commands. And his instructions to these judges were super clear. He basically said, listen, you're not judging for me, you're not judging for people, you're judging for the Lord. So you better have the fear of the Lord on you and be careful, because with God, there's no injustice, no playing favorites, and absolutely no bribery.
But here's the most important part of his instructions. The core of their job wasn't just to punish people who did wrong. No, their main function was to warn people to prevent them from sinning in the first place. Think about that. It was about being proactive, not just reactive, a system built on prevention, which is pretty revolutionary.
So let's talk about the lesson for us, because this idea, this principle of warning each other, it doesn't just get left behind in the Old Testament, it actually carries right on into the New Testament, but with a fascinating twist that speaks right to us today. And you can see the connection right here. In the Old Testament, the instruction was to warn them so they do not sin against the Lord. It's very direct, almost legal. But look at the New Testament application from Hebrews. Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. Let us encourage one another. See the shift? It goes from a warning to an encouragement. It's the same core idea of looking out for each other, but the tone changes from preventing bad stuff to promoting good stuff. It's all about mutual accountability. So what's the big takeaway for us today? Well, Jehoshaphat's story is a powerful reminder that our faith journey is not supposed to be a solo mission. We're called to live with a clear conscience, sure, but we're also told not to give up meeting together. Why? Because we have a responsibility to encourage each other, to build each other up. It's a team effort. Even a good king like Jehoshaphat had a massive blind spot, and it almost cost him everything. We all need people in our lives to help us see what we can't, to encourage us, and to warn us when we're getting too close to the edge. And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. In our own communities, in our friendships, are we the kind of people who protect one another? Or do we just look the other way? Are we actively building each other up? Or are we accidentally letting the people we care about walk into danger all alone?